Hi and welcome to my first video. This video, and more importantly this channel, are opinion based, so I'd like to exaggerate that these opinions will probably differ from yours. However, this doesn't mean that I don't want to hear what you have to say, so if you have different thoughts and feelings of me, which I'm sure you will, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, and I'll respond to all of them. Within my first video, I want to go over the top 10 Marvel films as of 2018. Now, this doesn't mean most financial success or most characters within the movie or even the most action-packed. It simply means from an enjoyment point of view, of course being mine. There is only one main rule for this video, and that is that there is only allowed to be one movie per sub-franchise. So despite all three Iron Man films being potential top 10 movies, I'll only be allowed to include just one, which of course will be my personal favourite. Just for the curious among you, I'll be including the IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes scores for each of these films, as well as my own personal opinion. All pictures and or clips used in this video are owned entirely by the copyright holders. Screen Psycho makes no claim of ownership and encourages viewers to watch all of these movies listed in the video legally, thus giving the filmmakers the credit that they deserve. With that being said, let's get straight into the list. At number 10, we have The Incredible Hulk from 2008, with an IMDb rating of 6.8 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 67%. This was Edward Norton's only appearance as Bruce Banner, aka The Incredible Hulk, other than a Nintendo Wii adaptation that came out in the same year. In my opinion, his portrayal of Hulk was great, and Norton did a great job with his performance of the character, despite it not being something he would typically be cast as. The effects and storyline of the movie were very good. This film is packed full of hard-hitting action and enough Hulk screen time to sink his teeth into, which is more than can be said about the latest installment into the Marvel Universe, but more on that later. The support cast of both Liv Tyler and Tim Roth can only be seen as pluses in my mind. There are many plot holes in this movie, however, which mainly stem from continuity errors and Ang Lee's adaptation of the superhero. The common idea of this movie being somewhat boring among critics, and sadly the only appearance of Norton as Hulk, makes me put the movie in last place on the list. Sorry to any and all Hulk fans out there that love this movie. At number 9, I have decided to give this position to 2015's Ant-Man, with an IMDb score of 7.6 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 82%. Now, when I first went to see this movie, I went into the theatre with not many expectations of the hero, and some questions about Paul Rudd being cast as the actor. However, I was quickly made to shut up because from the outset of this movie, I was very intrigued. The performance of Rudd was fantastic, the unique plotline and character was something I had never seen before. This mixed with the humour of the film made me very fond of the movie. Before seeing this movie, like many people, I was asking myself how on earth is being reduced to the size of an ant going to help me overcome the bad guys. But upon leaving the theatre, I realised that this very unique and interesting premise for the movie. And the execution couldn't have been better. Ant-Man and the Wasp was a great follow-up movie with an excellent post-credit scene. However, I still feel as though the original is slightly better. Next on the list is number 8, which for me has to be 2016's Doctor Strange, with an IMDb rating of 7.9 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 89%. Benedict Cumberbatch seems like a shoo-in to be cast as Doctor Strange. The resemblance he shares with the iconic comic book character is uncanny. Initially, I shied away from seeing this movie because I thought Marvel would have a hard time by trying to get an audience behind a wizard. Although it wasn't just his appearance that Cumberbatch nailed. The portrayal that he gives is fantastic, and the use of a sidekick character being a cape is very innovative and at times comical. Having not seen him in anything prior to this, I thought that Cumberbatch seemed like a guy who would take himself too seriously and wouldn't fit the part. I'm very pleased to announce that he outdid himself and provided very good comic relief throughout the movie, but also gave a great and intense acting performance. As good as it is, I have decided to give number 7 to Spider-Man Homecoming, released in 2017. It has an IMDb rating of 7.5 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 92%. Having grown up watching both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield try their hand at playing the famous web slinger, I was never convinced that either was right for the part, both seeming far too old for the part and also something I couldn't quite put my finger on that just fell off about the two. Enter Tom Holland. Holland is not just a fantastic choice for the character of Spider-Man, but he is also a great poster boy for the entire brand, even if he does sometimes spoil the films he's in. Homecoming puts a new modern, comical spin on the comic book hero, using social media to his advantage and being a huge fanboy of Tony Stark was comedic gold. The technological advances of the suit and the constant perseverance of Spider-Man were great in showing how far the franchise has come as a whole. Holland is a perfect choice for the role, and I can't see him leaving it anytime soon. Next up is number 6, and after much consideration I've decided to give it to Captain America Civil War, with an IMDb rating of 7.9 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 91%. The concept of this movie is great. Inner turmoil within the Avengers leads to a split, half siding with Captain America, half siding with Iron Man. This left me very conflicted while watching this, as growing up I was a huge fan of Captain America, but in the movie found myself leaning towards siding with Iron Man. The movie is a great stepping stone for the franchise and delivers on all fronts in terms of comedy, action, and conflict. With a great deal of star power being present within this movie, it's not hard to see why the movie did so well at the box office. We see Tom Holland's first outing as Peter Parker and Chadwick Boseman's first as the Black Panther. There are also many other cameos within this movie, including Ant-Man, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Falcon, Bucky Barnes, and of course Iron Man. This movie is very good in the overall development in the Avengers universe and timeline, and has one of the most iconic battle scenes in Marvel's history. Initially, this movie seemed to be lacking in the action department, but made up for that immensely with a final fight scene between all parties in the cleared airport. Number 5 is another controversial one, Black Panther, with an IMDb rating of 7.4 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 97%. We had been long overdue a Black Panther film for many years. When we finally got one, it didn't disappoint. Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa and Michael B. Jordan as Eric Killmonger both delivered excellent performances as their characters. After the death of his father, T'Challa is preparing to be crowned the new king of Wakanda, the fictional technologically advanced nation. The CGI and character development within this movie adaptation is great. The movie has interest in subtle political undertones as it relate to real-world problems. Coogler has done a great job of directing this movie. The performances by everyone involved in the movie were phenomenal, especially Jordan, who I felt would be very hard to be the main antagonist considering his performance in Creed, but overall did a fantastic job. For me, this is where things start getting tricky. I found myself chopping and changing the top 4 on numerous occasions, twice during writing the script for this, but ultimately my number 4 goes to Thor Ragnarok, with an IMDb rating of 7.9 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 92%. If before the movie you had told me that Thor not only loses his trusty hammer and his long golden locks, but also an eye, I'd have never believed you. Ragnarok is a great response to the highly underwhelming Thor the Dark World. Now I know people will probably hate me for saying that, but realistically speaking, it was by far the weakest entry into the Asgardian trilogy. I know I'm not the only person who feels this way, as both Ragnarok and the original scored much higher on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. Hemsworth, as expected, gives another stellar performance as the God of Thunder, and the surprise cameo from none other than Hulk can only be seen as a huge green plus in Ragnarok's column. The introduction of secondary characters Korg added some of the best comedy to be seen in Marvel's films for many years. Taika Waititi, which I hope I pronounced correctly, was fantastic in voicing him, and I'm sure that Ragnarok isn't the last we'll be seeing of him, or his sidekick Meek for that matter, due to the overwhelming fan support that the duo had received online. At number 3, I have decided to put Avengers Infinity War, with an IMDb rating of 8.6 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 84%. Now, if this list was based off action scenes and characters alone, then Infinity War would undeniably be number 1. However, it's based solely off my opinions and how much I enjoyed watching them. Don't get me wrong, Infinity War is a brilliant coming together of all of Marvel's greatest superheroes in hopes of defeating Thanos. The performances from everyone in this movie are unquestionably brilliant, but nobody stands out more to me than the most hated antagonist in Marvel's history. Josh Brolin's performance was uncanny and so brilliant that you couldn't help but feel a hatred and simultaneous compassion for the character, or maybe that's just me. The only reason for me that the movie did not get number 1 is because I found that there were too many questions left unanswered. Where was Hawkeye and Ant-Man? What happens next? Although I'm sure these questions will be answered in the next Avengers installment, that is over a year away, and that is far too long to leave an audience waiting. That being said, the action scenes, the character interaction with each other, and just the overall movie in itself was highly enjoyable. Ultimately, I liked that not all characters made it out unscathed, because let's be real here, that would be far too unrealistic. I don't want to give too many spoilers away as to who dies or who survives, but although most of the people watching this already have seen or heard what happens at the end, personally, if I spoiled the film for other people, I wouldn't feel so good. The final 2 for me were very hard. I'm sure most people know what they are by now, but initially I started this list with both 1 and 2 the other way around, but managed to convince myself otherwise. So for me, number 2 is the first film in the Iron Man franchise, with an IMDb rating of 7.9 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 93%. I mean, talk about a great start to a series. Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark and vice versa. At this point, the two are interchangeable. If there is ever a day when Marvel decide to replace RDJ as Iron Man, then they may as well start digging their own grave. This movie is the first installment of what became possibly the most recognizable franchise in movie history. The humor and wit of Stark set the tone for all Marvel movies to follow. The action scenes are fantastic, and this was seen throughout the use of great special effects. It's hard to describe what makes this movie so great, but thinking back, I only seem to have fond memories. Superhero fans had been waiting a very long time to get a live-action Iron Man movie, and finally it delivered, and for many people couldn't have been better. This movie gives a great backstory as to how Stark created his iconic suit. After a technology presentation in Iraq, Stark gets attacked, and the only way he survives is by having a car battery attached to his heart, thus birthing Iron Man. If you have not seen this movie, I would heavily advise that you do, as it is a great insight into the backstory of Iron Man and sets the tone for all of its film's predecessors. With the original Iron Man sitting in second place, there's only one film that I think is better. So without further ado, my number one Marvel film of all time is Guardians of the Galaxy, with an IMDb rating of 8.1 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 91%. Despite its current day controversy, director James Gunn does a perfect job with this movie and the sub-franchise as a whole. The action is good, the characters are great, and the movie as a whole cannot be flawed. Very rarely can a movie make you care so much about the characters in the same way that both Guardians films do. Chris Pratt is hilarious as a smart-mouthed Star-Lord, aka Peter Quill. His love interest Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana, brings great balance to the group as she is a mother figure but also has her comedic moments. Drax, played brilliantly by Dave Bautista, is one of the funniest and most likable Marvel characters ever. The lovable duo of Rocket Raccoon, voiced expertly by Bradley Cooper, and his true-lit friend Groot, played by Vin Diesel, are a highly unlikely pair, yet seem to work in a way that no other Marvel characters have done before. In Diesel's one line of dialogue throughout both Guardians movies, he has managed to win over the hearts of the entire world just by uttering 3 simple words: I am Groot. The secondary characters of both Yondu and Nebula, played by Michael Rooker and Karen Gillan respectively, are also great additions to the movie. Overall, I would say this movie has the perfect formula for any Marvel movie. Equal parts character development, backstory, comedy, action, and drama. Not to mention the unmistakable soundtrack that accompanies the movie, which is very fitting of the themes and the characters within the movie. To me, you know the movie is good when each of the characters involved could quite easily lead a trilogy of spin-off movies by themselves, which each of these characters are more than capable of doing. So there you have it, that's my list. I'd like to apologize in advance for not placing your favourite movie higher on the list, or even at all. However, I'm sure if you've left a comment below, I could be easily persuaded to change my mind. In addition, this was my first video and I put a lot of time and effort into it, so a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated to me in this new channel. However, if you want to click the dislike button, feel free to do so, but please let me know why you disliked it in the comments so I can try best to improve in the future. I hope to upload a new video every Sunday, so hopefully I'll see you next week. Anyway, thank you for watching and I hope you have a great day.